Hey there guys, welcome back to another live stream with your host me, WinterTooth100. And in today's live stream, we are going to be working on Snow Temple. And we're going to let this place load up. I literally just logged in. Make sure we get all the directions kind of loaded up. Let's take a look at it real quick so we can get everyone caught up. The last episode went up yesterday. So hopefully everyone's mostly caught up. But in that last episode, we focused on one of the back sections for this temple. And this tower here is the visible result of it that we get to see from the front. It's starting to look really good. We're going to do the next section, which will be behind this, which won't be visible from the front, so it won't have too much impact on the facade looking at it from straight on, but from the inside of course it's going to make a big difference. We need to load up on materials, and I must have used quite a bit because typically I end up throwing what's left over in here. Alright, so we're just going to have to grab a bunch of material then, huh? We're going to need a ridiculous amount of stone because we always need a ridiculous amount of stone. Let's see, what we're going to need. We're definitely going to need some of this and these guys. And, I guess we'll find out as we go along, huh? Because I'm not sure what it's gonna look like at this moment, but we're definitely gonna figure that out. I just happen to not know what that looks like right now. Aha, we're gonna need these. We'll probably take a stack of that because we're gonna need to craft many of those. And I have the spare bed on me, so we don't have to walk back so frequently. And we'll just continue on through here and work our way into the courtyard. So this is what we built yesterday. The tower looks really fantastic from the front. But this, however, is just like, yeah, technically, I guess you could say it's just more of the same. And that's because we're sitting within a very specific theme. So it makes sense that it seems more of the same. But we're going to do this section now, and I have a vague idea of kind of what I want it to look like. I don't know how well we're going to pull it off, but let's try to give a quick description of it as best I can. So I'm seeing like right here, this pillar would be like the dividing point, and it would be like two of these, kind of, where we'd have one roof section right there, and then another one would have cut off right there. So they look kind of like side by side, like houses, I guess, that just happen to share the same base. Let's see if we have any good examples of that within the rest of it. I'm not sure we do, which is a part of why I kind of wanted to do that, because it'd be a unique section of this build. Yeah, okay, so we kind of do. The closest thing we have would be this guy, right, where we see one roof there, and then below it is another roof, and they kind of share the same base, but they really never did. Technically, this base was added separately, and the whole section of it was added completely separately. But it'll be something along those lines, I think. And I think we're gonna do it with the roofs being flat out like that. That way we can put in some of these balconies. Like, I think that roof needs a balcony, and it just doesn't have one at the moment. I think this one will definitely have one on its bits, but probably won't get added until later, just because those balconies actually take a little bit of actual designing to figure out. And I noticed in that last episode, and even until now, I didn't show off what this side looks like, and this is my first time seeing this side. So, yeah, look, it actually looks pretty good. I like it. It's going to be a little different, or at least it's going to give a slightly different feel when this big tower is in, because that'll help pull away from this harsh edge here. But we're going to build this giant tower bit after we do this, because that giant tower I expect to be very nearly as tall as that tower, but it's a big tower going way up. Might do something with like a bell in it, perhaps? Get a bell tower? possibly? That just came to me, so no idea. Let's put some stuff together. I didn't grab any cobble. Wow. Way to go, Winter. The entire base of all these things is made from cobble. And you forgot the cobble. Plus, it's also my scaffolding block. It's the thing I use to typically climb up and down from these things. How could I not have it? Yeah, we'll close that door. Here we go. Alright, we're going to want a stair. We're going to want these slabs. And we'll just kind of wrap around this bottom pretty quick. So today's live stream is going to be fairly simple. And I'll bring this up multiple times just because my typical following is very few and far between. But we're going to be working on this piece of the castle, and periodically throughout it, ideally I'd like to answer questions that come my way. Must be a guy in there. But because I know my streams don't usually explode with viewership. Yeah, he definitely sounds like he's in there. It should be lit up in there. It is lit up in there. Must be an underground spot. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Whoa, you scared me. I missed! Ah, you didn't set me on fire. Dang it. You picked those up and now I'm not going to be able to get them back. Here we go. Nailed it. I'm the best. But I would like to answer any questions that come my way regarding this build or the entire map, or what we're doing with the channel in particular, anything that comes our way. But again, because we don't really have too many viewers typically on these live streams while they're happening, I'm not expecting any questions to come my way, which is why I'll reiterate that function that we want to fulfill in today's live stream several times throughout this live stream. That way, in case we do get somebody, they hopefully will catch that, and if they have questions, they know that I'll be working on answering them. We are a little bit fortunate in that these back bits of this temple are all being invented from my mind, and therefore there is no reference image for me to have to pull my attention to that instead of the Twitch page, so I can actually see the chat now. Basically, that's what I'm saying. I can see the chat now, so if anybody actually comes in and wants to talk or say anything, there's a much higher probability that I will actually see those messages and be able to respond to them. But right now, I kind of want to avoid trying to explain this in a tutorial way, because that's typically how I end up doing it. I'm not sure what I would talk about in its place though. But if I give it a whirl, let's kind of try to focus on Zelda themed things just in general, mostly pertaining to this map, but I want to keep it kind of general because as anybody who's following my channel should know, I have been working on rebeating Skyward Sword on the Wii, and so just gonna do a quick progress update for anybody who cares about that particular thing. But I am one temple away from beating it, I believe. It's been a few years since I played it. In fact, it's been since the game first came out in November of that year that I've played and beaten that game. But I am quickly approaching the Temple of Time. It's not the Temple of Time. Is it the Temple? I don't know what it's called because I haven't actually opened the temple yet. but it's the temple that is in Skyloft. Like, it comes out from underneath Skyloft, and then eventually the island falls and merges perfectly within that giant pit in the Pharaon Woods, the sacred forest or whatever it is. That's the last temple. I'm almost positive of that. And that's the one that I'm currently working on unlocking at the moment. I keep getting distracted. There's a reason why I only do 2 temples per run. Last time I did 3 temples per run. But typically I only do 2 temples per run because I will complete a thing and then I will... oh, I didn't mean to fall. Dang it. I'll complete a thing and then I'll spend several hours flying around through Skyloft and collecting bugs and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So it's mostly complete because I've been doing all the side stuff while I've been doing all of the temple stuff. I saw there's this channel whose channel name I forget at this moment. Let me fix my music. There we go. I forget the channel name, but he did this series called Boss Keys, and if you if you YouTube Boss Keys, you are sure to find his channel. And basically it was a study and a breakdown of each of the Zelda games and their temples, and, you know, getting really into it, like, what order do you find keys in, and does this key offer you any choice, or is it, or in reality is the temple streamlined? Is it technically, if you put it on a straight path, could you still solve that temple, right? Like, if you change the rooms around so you just walked from one room into the next room, straight into the next room, straight into the next room, like, if you, in the order that you get the keys to unlock doors or the items to access certain areas, does it feel like you could walk a straight path and complete that temple? And for the most part, the answer to that question was yes. Except temples do this thing where a part of that straight path is repassing through rooms that you've already completed or don't actually have puzzles in them. Like, when you first walk in to to the temple, we'll say that this courtyard is the very front. You could just walk through the very front door, and you're now entering it, right? A lot of temples will do this thing where the path forward is blocked, and both of the paths this way are blocked, or only one is blocked. And either way, regardless of both being blocked or only one being blocked, you will unlock one path. Will always be the way to go. And so you go there, and you get a key, or flip a switch, which unlocks this door, because you still don't have the key for that, right? And so you're forced to go into this one, and then you get the key in there, and then you come back in here, and then you go back up that. So basically you enter, go left, cross through this main room again, come back into the main room a third time, and by doing that, it makes it feel like the temple's more of a puzzle. But in reality, you've followed this semi-straight path. Like, if this was the front door and that was the next room, and then immediately from that room entered that room, and then immediately from that room went into that room, you followed a straight path, and you've done exactly the same thing that you did without, you're just literally cutting out the middle room, because it doesn't do anything. It's literally just the thing that you walk through, and nothing else happens there. And so he does this great breakdown and analysis of these temples, and are they really challenging? Are they really puzzles, or do they just feel like puzzles? And like 9 times out of 10, they just feel like puzzles, but they're linear. And that's not to say that, like, there aren't actual puzzles or challenges within the temples or within those rooms. It's just that there's no choice in the temple. There's no ability to do areas before you do other areas, because the temple, since it's made in that fashion, is linear. And so if we, and now I'm bringing it back to our adventure map, if we learn from that and we design our temples, there is at a minimum a decent chance. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, because I imagine temple building is going to start to get really complex to make it feel unique each and every time. So there might be a few temples where we follow that formula, because it'll add to an overall flavor of uniqueness that will, comes with the build or with the adventure map. But if we take that, we have a greater chance of being able to design temples, hopefully, that will actually give you guys choice, instead of, saying that you have to do, oh, dang it, I actually brought that with me. Dang it. Instead of basically saying you must do room A, then room B, then room C, then room D, and then finally the boss in room E. Instead of putting it to you that way, we might be able to create some temples where I can say, obviously you have to start in room A, right? And possibly we can break that mold. I can already think of an example where we can break that mold, but let's say for the most part we always start in room A, because that's the front door and it takes you into the temple. Well, then you have a choice. Do you want to go to room B, room C, or room D first? And then we can design puzzles that each room can possibly only unlock one of the other rooms. And do it in a way where it doesn't involve keys, so it's not like, oh, I got a key in this room, and incidentally, this happens to be the room that proceeds further deeper into the temple, and I don't need to go back to these. Instead of giving keys, because then we can have players go, well, then I'll just go back to the other two and collect the keys, and then I'll keep the keys and go to the next temple and use those keys there. And I don't want, that's definitely something I want to actively avoid. So I might do like redstone doors. So in each room it might unlock one of the doors, and we can probably put it on like some kind of randomizer system. So it's like an etho clock, right? So if I complete this redstone circuit, depending on what state the etho clock's in, which would be random because it's an etho clock, that would determine which door actually opens. So it's kind of a form of choice, but it's also random, which means the first time you do the temple may not be the same way you did it the second time or the third time or the fourth time, because they are being randomized each time, which I think sounds really neat. Not sure exactly how well we're going to be able to pull that off, but those are things I'm definitely thinking about, because I love the idea that the temple that you guys get to play in is going to not only have a sense of randomness, it'll also have at least a sense of choice, but I want it to be true choice, not just a false sense of it. And those are probably the two biggest components that I think are important to, you know what, let's just tie this up so I don't have to put in a bunch of torches down below. That'll be important to making the temples really come to life. Did I really burn through all that cobble? I did. But we'll see. The guys who make the Zelda games and design the temples are really smart guys, and they've been doing it for a really long time. So there's probably a very good reason why temples tend to be in the same fashion. And that's probably because, you know, there's the Zelda formula. So there's actually a thing that they follow to make the game feel like a Zelda game. Dang it, Bo. Gonna lose this cobble. Oh well. But yes, there's an actual formula they follow to make it feel like a Zelda game. Like, for example, in the temple, classically, you're going to get the temple item. I'm sure there probably is a scenario in one of the Zelda games where there isn't a temple item, but I can't think of any examples off the top of my head. But typically, after you get the temple item, there's some kind of tutorial, right? And they're usually really subtle about it. They usually don't throw it in your face. Some games are very obnoxious and they do throw it in your face. But for the most part, it's like you get I'll use the whip, for example, from Skyward Sword, because right now that is the most current, freshest game in my head, Skyward Sword. You get the whip, and you very quickly learn, not because the game's telling you how the item works, which is really great. I love it when they don't just tell you how to do a thing. But because the room that you get it in, the only way to get back out of that room or through that room is to use that item the way it's meant to be used. Obviously, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's a whip, and it's with the Wii, and everything's about using that Wii motion plus control thing. So you kind of already have this instilled knack for how it's done, and so you put the item in your hand and you start playing with it, and you start whipping things, whatever you can, and then quickly you'll realize that there's these lily pad things, and they will flip. They'll rotate over when you whip them, and so you very quickly, as a player, realize that that's how you're going to use this whip. That you can swing from certain vines from it, and you can rotate certain objects or pull things towards you. Like, it's a room that doesn't say, hey, this is how you use this tool. It's a room that says, solve me, and you'll know how to use that tool. And I think that's really important, but that's a part of the Zelda formula. They actively do that to you, where they teach you how to do a thing directly after you get the thing. And so I'm hoping there's some examples where we will be doing that for sure with our temples, because I did have a guy make special tools for us, special not normal Minecraft items, and so some of them I'm gonna want to do those rooms, so you learn how to use that item, and then of course you complete the temple from that point on using that item. But for the most part, because this is Minecraft, most players of my map probably already know how to do most of the stuff, so therefore I don't need to do any teaching for some of it. So that's gonna help me cut out some of those spaces that we would otherwise be requiring for tutorial rooms, and I can instead include them to just be like additional puzzle rooms, and hopefully be able to add that to the overall game of puzzle solving and choice making. There's another concept when it comes to choice that I'm interested in trying, but I'm not sure how well it's going to work out. You know what? I made a boo-boo, because these guys are going to have pillars behind them, which means these are going to need to be torched anyway. Dang it. We'll do it every other one, shall we? Just like that. Yep. Alright. So, another thing, because we're on Skyward Sword, and I noticed it with Skyward Sword being the opposite of what the guy said, but I may not have been paying attention. He may have said Skyward Sword was the exception. That's possible. But in his videos, he comments on how not only are the temples linear, but the order in which you do the temples is linear, and even further, everything about how you solve the game is linear. And his biggest point for that was, you don't need to revisit areas to solve things. There's no point in, we'll use Zelda Ocarina of Time for the example. So think about that game real quick while I take a sippy sip. Good. Okay, you got it in your mind now, right? Ocarina of Time. What's the thing that you do in Ocarina of Time? It's you solve the temple and you move on and never come back. Ever. Like, when you go into the water temple, obviously probably the most famous temple of them all, when in that game did you go back into the water temple? And what for? Was it because you were curious and wanted to explore? Or did the game actually want to take you there to progress the story? Right? Are you thinking about it now? You don't actually go back into the temples to do that. When I was playing Skyward Sword, I was keeping this in mind. Well, I'm still playing Skyward Sword, so yeah, that too. But I was keeping that in mind, and it became quickly apparent to me that Skyward Sword, you do return to at least one of the temples. One of them is coming to mind because I played it and I had to do that. One of the temples you do legitimately have to go back through, which at first I'm like, oh wow, this is an example of that thing that guy said that he thought would be really cool. Like, it's in Skyward Sword. He must have made that short little video before getting to Skyward Sword. That was my thought. But as you play through it, there's a little bit of in the temple work that you have to do. For some reason, one of the doors the first time around that you're in it, that you unlocked, is now locked again. And so this time around you have to find the key to open the same door that you've opened the first time around. And the only difference is that you have to use a temple item. I use that loosely because technically you get it before you get into the temple. And I don't really consider them temple items unless you get them from the temple. But there is a temple item that you get called the digging mitts or something like that, the mining mitts. But you use that and dig a hole in the ground where the key is buried. And then you go on to the next room and there's like a mini boss fight. You know, like temples will have the mini boss fight and then they'll have the real boss fight. Well, in the boss room, there's a mini boss fight. And then you're done. Like, that's it. You look for one key to open one door to have one mini boss fight. And then you're done. Yes, you've revisited the temple because the story demanded you to, which was exactly what the guy was saying. But we didn't revisit the temple as a temple. Like, it was like we revisited this temple as like a dungeon that you would stumble upon accidentally in Hyrule Field, and you just happen to be blowing up as many bombs as you can along the walls, hoping to find a secret room that, you know, contains a rupee in it. And that's very much what it feels like when you are redoing that particular temple. You know, it feels like you're just doing a different dungeon that isn't in a temple. Like, that dungeon could have been anywhere, and it just happened to have been in the temple itself. So, with that in mind, there are again, off the top of my head, I still haven't looked at my notes because, I figure what's the point because I'm building one temple right now. I don't need to look at my notes until it's, time to move on. But as far as I know, to the best of my ability, in yesterday's episode, Saturday. If you're watching this on YouTube, it was 2 days ago. It was Saturday. I showed off a very rough map, literally on the ground, out of stone bricks. Literally right there in the courtyard. You can see where some of the snow is still missing for where I placed blocks. I showed a rough outline of where temples vaguely are or will be built anyway in this adventure map. And there's 9, I believe. 9 temples. I was trying to do a quick recount in my head, but I'm pretty sure there's 9. There could possibly be 10. But I don't think there'd be 11. I think 10 is the top. If it does go to 10, it's 10. Otherwise it's 9. But because of this thing this guy has said and how I definitely want to make my map unique to any Zelda game while having it still feel like a Zelda game. Taking that criticism into account, that is definitely something that I want to do. I want to, for sure, design at least 3. That's the number that's coming to mind that I'm in this moment feeling good about. I at least want 3 of those 9 temples to be dual temples, where there's sections of it. We'll use Snow Temple as an example again, right? So if we come to Snow Temple for Snow Temple's sake, because we're at that point in this map, right, in the game, maybe all of that temple takes place in this section of the building, just over there, and maybe in the first part that this maze will get us into, right? And we can't go any further because maybe to get access to these other 3 areas, Big Tower, you have to have an item from a later temple. And so when the storyline demands it of you, you'll have to come back here and you'll use that item to come back into here. But I don't want to do it in such a way that they did with Skyward Sword, where it just felt really short and went off and lacking. When you come back here to do the second part, I want it to truly feel like you are doing a brand new temple. Like, this one will have, we're going to just use arbitrary numbers and make them even across the board. This first temple, Snow Temple, will have 5 keys in it and the boss key. So 6 keys in total, counting the boss key. It'll have those, and it'll have 4 puzzle rooms, and it'll have 1 mini boss, and it'll have 1 boss. Great. Like, that's a full temple. Well, this other temple, the same thing. It'll have 5 keys. It'll have 1 boss key. It'll have 4 puzzle rooms. It'll have 1 mini boss. And it'll have the actual boss. Like, I would definitely for sure want to make sure that if we're going to be using a temple for multiple temple purposes, that it's going to function as multiple temples and not lacklusterly trying to pretend to be something it's not. So that would be the goal anyway. I don't know. I'm gonna need to know what you guys think about that. If we do that, that will result in the 9 temples. We'll just say it's 9 for now in case, it's better to be safe than sorry. We'll say there's 9 temples, and that will turn that 9 temples into 12 temples, because 9 of the builds is now 12 temples worth. And on one hand, I see that as like a very, like, oh, that's a cheap way to do it, like, why not just build real temples? Well, a part of why we don't just build new temples if we double them up, it's not going to save me a whole lot of work. It's going to save me facade building work, kind of. So if we did it here at Snow Temple, and obviously we're going to keep using Snow Temple as our primary example piece because we're here and you guys can see it. But if Snow Temple was a dual temple, yes, I'm not saving myself any work as far as building is concerned. But as far as designing how it looks goes, I'm saving myself a ridiculous amount of work. Snow Temple here, this thing took days of designing each and every part. The only bits that break that exception is that back tower right there. I literally built that in a day, and it's strongly based on a tower that I already spent days designing. So by doubling up temples, 2 temples per one facade, I only have to design one facade and have 2 temples, but I still have to build the facade for 2 temples worth. So I'm not saving myself any like building work, I'm saving myself designing work. And it's also kind of, I find it to be unique, right? Like this snow area that we're in, if there wasn't a reason to come back here, you wouldn't come back here. There's nothing here except Snow Temple, and if you beat Snow Temple, there's no reason to come back. Like, Snow Temple's done. You got the item, unless you miss something, or you just want to see the build again, or, you know, what have you. And that doesn't feel like a very full world to me. You know, you don't leave your house and go to the store once. You leave your house and go to the store several times over the course of your lifetime. many, many, many times over the course of your lifetime. Like, I'm not saying you're gonna have to come back to like Snow Temple 1,200 times, but it would be nice to need a reason to, or have a reason to revisit these places, so it's not just a simple case of I feel like I just want to see it again situation. It's actually a you have to come back to complete the map. And beyond temples, I intend on including things throughout everywhere in the map that will drive you to want to return to places. And again, not all of those reasons will be because there's temples to solve and you have to do them or whatever. Like, for example, Kakariko Village is going to be the place where if you want to go back to the main area, and I messed this up in Saturday's episode. I said for some reason that you're going to spawn in the middle of Hyrule Field, and that's not true. You're going to spawn in Kakariko Village, because that's where the Temple of Time is going to be. And there's already a portal system set up there. But yeah, you're going to return to Kakariko Village probably frequently, especially if you're a member of this server. You're going to be able to do a temple, and then the rest isn't going to be quite complete yet, so you're going to have to leave and come back at another time. I'm sorry to say. But you know, that's just the reality of it. And so you know, that's perfectly fine, but that just means Kakariko Village is going to get a lot of attention. It's going to be it's the portal city to leave the map and enter the map, because the map is so far away. You're not going to come here by any other means. Maybe you're crazy and you fly through the nether for a few hours, and then you can maybe make a portal and find your way over here. Maybe. I don't recommend that. Don't do that. Last thing you're going to want is to have a portal spawn in the middle of a redstone contraption, and then you won't be able to solve the puzzle, right? That would suck. Dang it, stop doing that. But Kakariko Village will also be the place where you're going to spend the monies that you find throughout Hyrule to, you know, buy food. Because this is Minecraft and not Zelda, and you have to eat in this game, unlike Zelda. And the number one rule to playing this map, especially for the other resilient members, is you can't bring anything with you. Not a thing. That includes food. I'd rather not make a change to that. I think it'd be more unique for the map to somehow give you the opportunity or chance or way to give yourself food. But we'll see. There's always corner cases where we were in a hurry to do a thing because this is a YouTube series and there are other members and they're doing their own thing. And I mean, we just passed episode 40. Next episode will be episode 41. So, we'll see. But Kakariko Village, back to my main point, will definitely be a place that we see a lot. And because of that, like, we probably don't need to add anything super extra to it because it will be seen a lot. My music's gone again. Let's listen to this one. And we need that block. Perfect. Castletown will also naturally have a drawback for you guys as well. Like, so it won't need too many extras. Again, none of this is to say that there won't be extras at these places. I'm just saying that, I'm trying to emphasize what would bring you back, right? For something like Snow Temple, it would probably be that it's a dual temple. For something like Kakariko Village or Castletown, that are gonna have like player cities for them, right? Like villagers running around, houses, things like that. You'll probably end up coming back to them frequently anyway. Like, I can imagine scenarios where we have like redstone games, right? That's a pretty typical thing that you'd find in a castle town, are vendors who aren't selling you a product, they're selling you an entertainment, they're selling you a game, and usually by completing those games will give you special rewards, right? Like in Ocarina of Time, one of the bow games won you a bigger quiver, and so of course you wanted to do that because you wanted the bigger quiver so you could have more arrows on you at a time. So we'll probably do things like that as well, because I think that would be really neat. That anybody can just take a break and play some games within the game. But if we're gonna, there's one area in this map that just inherently has a lot of return to value, and I'm gonna take a sippy sip real quick. Well, that's super cold. I need to finish that. It's still good though. It's supposed to be hot. But going back to that, there is one place that in my map has always inherently had a ton of replay value to it, and that is the Hall of the Hero. It is a temple-like structure. I guess you could probably loosely call that the 10th temple. If there is a 10th temple, that is it. But it is we'll just call it a temple, right? It is a temple that, yeah, okay, that's right, yeah. It is a temple that you have to come back to time and time again, and it's challenging because it's not a real temple. There's no bosses in it. There might be fights, but there won't be any bosses in it, so it's not like a true temple. But, so let's, for example, we complete the Forest Temple, and in the Forest Temple we get Item Temple 1. Well, if we go back to the Hall of Hero, because we have Item Temple 1, there's a room we can now access, and because of that item. And then that item will probably be used somehow throughout that puzzle to, solve those puzzles or fight those mobs or whatever it happens to be. And as a reward for doing all that, you get another item. I need stone stairs. And so, in that way, it's like each temple you complete is worth 2 temple items, but you don't get the other item until you go back to the Hall of the Hero and complete those puzzles and challenges there. I hope that makes sense. It's hard to get into it without giving out spoilers, and I'm still on the fence about spoiling anything. Hold on, guys. One moment. I need to go park my boots in this dirt house. There is a little something off camera that I need to attend to real quick. Has nothing to do with anything we're talking about. But let's put me in a safe little hole. I'm going to put you guys on the live stream page. And I'll be back with you guys in just a moment. Alright guys, through the power of editing, I have just cut that clip out for you if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on Twitch, sorry. Daddy duties. I have a little cub and he needed some attention. So, yeah. I'm sure this will come as to no surprise, and I'm confident nobody's gonna be upset with me when I tell you he's gonna come first always. Sorry, you're out of luck. You lose to him always. Just gotta grab a new sippy sip. Oh, I love having my own office and my own mini fridge and having my own sippy sips. Ready? Here we go. We put the morning brew away and we start with the, oh yeah, the teenager drinks. Ooh, that's zingy. It's just about night, isn't it? Yep. It's very, very nearly night. We're gonna get out here and be like, it's dark. Yes, it's dark. So, while I was dealing with my son, I decided that I don't care. Oops. Care about that. I don't care so much about spoilers. I personally have always been the guy that would be like, oh, I really want to see that movie. But you, my best friend, saw it before me? Cool, I'm gonna go see it in 2 hours, but first, tell me everything that happens, because I want to know. I've always been that kind of person where spoilers don't bother me. Hey, nice head. Thank you. I don't need that. No head from that one though. Neat, that's 2 heads from them. Sweet. So yeah, that's kind of always been how I am. Like, spoilers don't bother me. And in fact, I prefer having them. I like spoilers. I like this pillaring's getting annoying already. We've almost reached the height where we stop pillaring and we just start flying. So if I say anything in the next little bit that upsets you guys, just know that this right here is your fair spoiler warning. I am gonna dive deep-ish. Deep-ish. Not super deep. Don't want to get too terribly into them because I haven't fully fleshed out everything, and I feel like that would be a mistake to commit to something that I'm not even fully committed to in my head yet. But if you guys are interested, I am strongly alluding to what the other temples are. What they're going to have. Possibly temple items. Those I know what those do. Like, I full on know what those do. I've got to play with them already. But I'm talking more like temples and not so much temple items. So if we dive into it, we have, again, 9 temples, 10 if we count the Hall of the Hero. We have the Graveyard, Sky Temple, Snow Temple, Forest Temple, Fire Temple, Water Temple, Desert Temple, Temple at the Castle for Castle Town, and I think that's it. I did not count any of those on my fingers. I might be missing one. Let me count on my fingers real quick. We got Snow Temple, Water Temple, Desert Temple, Sky Temple, Graveyard, Forest, Fire, Castle. Oh, I feel like I'm missing one. If only I had my diagram up to look at. You know what? I have a notepad and it's been sitting next to me. It contains all my notes. Oh, here we go. Perfect. I got the whole list. Forest Temple, Fire Temple, Water Temple, Desert Temple, Shadow Temple, Ice Temple, which is Snow Temple, Sky Temple, Castle Temple, and Time Temple. That's the one that I wasn't remembering. So yes, there is a Time Temple, and I'm not sure where it's going to be yet. I think that might end up being one of the dual temples. But I just want to talk a little bit, maybe get you guys a little hyped, because this is the live stream and we don't get very many viewers here, and these videos get uploaded to the second channel and that doesn't get very many views either. So as a way of kind of rewarding, hopefully this is viewed more as a reward instead of just a spoiler, as a kind of way to reward those of you who want to really dive deep and hear all about the stuff that we're going to be doing in this map. This is for you guys. I want to start by talking about the Graveyard, because in my mind, that's going to be both the easiest and most complicated and possibly funnest one we do. Easiest because I explained in the last episode how big the Graveyard is. Comparatively, it's tiny. The entire walkable area of the Graveyard is smaller than the area of Snow Temple. In fact, it's about the size of the courtyard. If we count this back wall going around and coming to the technically back side of the front side of this, so we don't count any of that area and just work away. That's roughly the size of the Graveyard, and we could go take a look, and we just might, because we still got time. We have an hour left in the stream, but because we have new commands, new syntax, new possibilities, let's put it that way, new possibilities with 113, that's what's going to make the Graveyard so much fun. It's also going to make the Fire Temple fun too, because we get to, with both of them, do the new teleport to a specific dimension command, and that should tell you a lot right there. So the Graveyard is the Shadow Temple, and obviously the Shadow Temple has got to be right. It's the Graveyard, shadow of your former self, because you're dead. It's the Graveyard. That's the Shadow Temple, and the idea is to build this awesome looking graveyard. Hopefully creepy, hopefully it really comes to life. Like, it might be small, but because it's small, I'm hoping to pack it in with a lot of detail and make it feel really graveyardy and hopefully creepy. And in this temple or graveyard, I don't know how we're going to access it yet, and I don't know I think I vaguely wrote down an idea of when we would get to it, and that'll help inform my decision for like what dungeon item you would use that helps you get there, or what have you, or what have you completed at by this point, and that will inform like what can you do to, you know, in the graveyard to unlock the doorway to the temple. But essentially, you will, if you go there ahead of time, great, you're not going to find anything, it's just a graveyard. But if you come back with the right item, and hopefully it'll be one of those things that you explore and you kind of see it, and then it's just like, oh well, I can't do anything here. And then when you get a certain item, hopefully whatever it is that we did to grant access to this temple strongly indicates, oh my goodness, I remember that thing in the graveyard, and I have the item that correlates with that thing I saw. Let me go try it out. Let's go see if something's there. And sure enough, it'll be the thing that opens up the portal. Yeah, I guess it'd be like a portal to the temple. But the temple is in the end. That's right, the Shadow Temple is going to be in the end dimension. And we have this awesome idea that I'm really excited about, where we also have this new thing, forced chunk loading, so we can make chunks stay loaded. And if it's in the end, I'm not so worried about it being loaded, because there's usually not a lot going on out there anyway, or people out there to do, you know, to be affected by it. Dang it. But how cool would it be to you're in this temple, right? And I'm picturing this temple being something like, you know, lots of windows, so it looks like constantly looking up into the starry night sky, because it's in the end. And how cool would it be to, some distance out these windows, make like a moon and light it up in such a way where it's always nice and bright, but hit it with that, make sure that all parts of it have that forced chunk loading. So it doesn't matter where you first spawn in at, or what you've explored, or where you've logged out and relogged in at, that moon will be force loaded and always there, so you don't have to get close enough to it to make it load in. So there's always this awesome moon out in the distance through these giant windows. Like, that's just one simple cosmetic idea I have for the Shadow Temple, is that it'll feel like you're possibly out in space. Maybe it feels like a space level, like you're inside of like a space station, perhaps. Maybe. I want to stay on the Shadow Temple theme, but you know, like, bounce that idea around for a little bit. How cool is that? Like, I think you guys agree with me that that's a pretty cool idea. Let's bring these up 4 blocks in height, shall we? 2, 3, 4. I think they come up higher than that. They do, but the next ones are mossy. But yeah, that's kind of an idea that we have for the Shadow Temple. We meet, being me and Camera Bear, we're one person technically. But there's a similar idea for the Fire Temple, where I've shown off, it's inside these giant volcanoes that have dual volcanoes that share the same like mountain-ness. And I've shown them off in some episodes, like you can see them. They're even the thumbnail of one episode. But I have this awesome idea that we'll be carving that thing out, which will give us lots of terracotta blocks, because I'm pretty sure it's solid pretty much all the way through. But we get those hollowed out, and with that we can fill it up with the temple. So the temple will be inside of those things. But that's not the only thing in there. We'll also have, similarly, not we'll call it a portal room for simplicity's sake, so we can stay on the same like train of thought. There'll be like a portal room, and that portal room will teleport you, the player, to the Nether. And the great thing about the teleport command is you don't need an actual portal. It's literally a command. I don't want you there. It's literally a command. So if I set up a command block and put a pressure plate on it, and that command block said teleport the player who touches this pressure plate to these coordinates in whatever dimension I choose, they will teleport there. Regardless of if they're in the overworld and I want them to go to the end, it'll teleport them to the end. That is a new feature for this game, and I really want to explore it. I think it'd be really neat. And on top of that, if you do the command output false, I believe it won't even tell the player that they've left the dimension. They will just get teleported. I mean, it's possible that the coordinates happen to line up with coordinates that they're familiar with in the overworld. Maybe. And then it'll just be like, oh, this isn't at those coordinates because that's where my base is. So I must be someplace else, or you know, what's going on, or maybe give them a little scare and have them freak out for a little bit thinking, oh no, did they destroy my place to build this? Because it's really cool and I appreciate that and I don't mind at all because you rock, Winter. Do whatever you want. You know what, let's just fly up there. I'm tired of that pillar already. So we want this to be at varying heights. So I'm thinking, splat. I'm thinking we bring these all up one window in height, and then we'll start the first roof, and then we'll bring this half over here up a couple bits taller, and then do the second roof. So it should still end up being shorter. The second roof will be taller than that, but it'll be shorter than that, so it'll end up somewhere in the middle. I need stairs. Now, we are doing this adventure map inside of an SMP. There is multiple players on this server. The activity's starting to dwindle down a little bit. That's perfectly fine. I made a promise to you guys right in the very beginning that it didn't matter how quickly people dropped off or stopped posting videos for this series, that I was going to continue this series even if it meant getting a download copy on my computer and playing it as a single player world. I'm going to continue doing Resilient until the map is finished. My goal was to do this series for at least 1 year, or close to anyway. Typically I would like to see Resilient be one of those things where every year a new season starts, but to do that requires a little prepping, and so it'd probably be slightly less than a year for each season, because there will be some downtime where we as a group will decide on things we want to try and shake things up for the new season, and so we can't just do that magically overnight. Like, to get this map ready, this one took a little extra time and extra special work because I did this entire custom map before it went live, and I had to build this custom map before we went live, and it took a while. And yes, I had great tools which made the process way faster than doing this all by hand, but we definitely would want to have the opportunity to, as a group, discuss things we would like to do and try and see, and be able to implement those ideas. And you'll go there. I'm gonna need more torches already. Always running out of torches. Alright, let's use the pillow this time now that I'm remembering. But I ideally want to run this series for a year, regardless of where it stands amongst the other members of the server, or if they're even still uploading or not. Like, I'm going to continue the series until if everyone else drops off and stops doing resilient videos and it's just me, I'll probably wrap it up as soon as the map is done. I probably wouldn't continue it for however much longer it would take. I would just wrap it up when the map is complete. And I'm sure you guys understand why I would do that. Because I don't want to make you guys unnecessarily wait for the map, and additionally, what did I come down here for? Torches. I have to put a thing back. You know I don't need no more? These guys. Not for the moment anyway. I don't have much coal left right there. I'm gonna have to break some down. Sticks? That's not enough sticks. I need more sticks. Oh no! I don't know if I'm still streaming for you guys or not. At least my viewing thing said unplugged, but you guys might still be seeing me. Oh, I'm seeing a commercial now for Venom. Great. I think that probably means I'm back though. I guess I'll see you in a moment. I need more sticks, baby. Okay, yeah, it appears like I'm back. I was just paused watching the thing. But we appear to be live for sure. Must have just been on my side where it showed it's something like Twitch machine unplugged something or another. I just refreshed my page and it seems to be working just fine now. Grab this stair. I forget what I was talking about. Dang, I was doing so well too. Usually I'm super forgetful, but I was only kind of forgetful. Now I don't remember what I was talking about. Something about my Zelda map, I'm sure. Oh yeah, continuing to play regardless of... Oops, have torches in your hand, Winter. Regardless of where everyone else in the series decides to cut off playing. At least until we're done, you know, with... Gonna need more cobble as well. There we go. I feel like I'm drawing a blank. Like I knew what I was talking about, but I can't remember where I was going with it. Dang. Oh well. If I can't remember, it's probably not important, right? That's usually how I look at things in life. If I can't remember, it's probably not important. Alright, well, we'll move on from that then. We'll talk about a different temple. Sky Temple I'm really looking forward to. Sky Temple's gonna be a real challenge because it is built already pretty high up. So we don't have a lot of wiggle room in the Y height. Also, it's not very wide. There's several floating islands, but that one's gonna be a real challenge. I'm not even sure how we're gonna do Sky Temple effectively because of its size. Honestly, like it's just not that big. So I feel like I'm still technically working out the order of how you do the temples and what the actual story is going to be, because I don't want this to just be an adventure map. I want it to be a story. Like, the Zelda games aren't just puzzles and temples. They are also, you know, the story of Hyrule and Link saving the princess and like, there's some kind of story to them typically. Even if it's not like super convoluted or detailed. Yeah, it's pretty basic. Oh no, that guy's a bad guy and we need to do these 3 temples to stop him. Oh no, he saw through our plans. Take this Ocarina of Time and go age yourself 7 years. And when you're an adult-sized person, you're gonna have to awaken the sages. The sages will stop this evil man. Like, that's pretty much the story for Ocarina of Time. Like, as a kid, do these 3 temples, cause that'll beat the bad guy. Wait, it didn't beat the bad guy. Alright, we'll do these 6 other temples. That'll beat the bad guy. And then you fight the bad guy and story's done. But I'm thinking that as a way to help emphasize choice in my map, I want to make sure that some of the temples, yes, are gonna definitely, be... Is this right? This feels short. Why does this not feel right? Investigating time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's right. No, Wings, you betrayed me. It should be the same height as this thing. But it's slightly taller, somehow. How are you taller? Oh, I think I saw it. Oh. I see it. I see it. Right? Block, stair. Hi, skeleton. Block, stair, block, stair, block, stair, block, stair, with the mossy row above it. Over here, there is no block stair. It's just the mossy row. That is 1 block taller. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I wasn't building it to be exactly identical to it, but I was technically following its pattern. It doesn't need to be identical, is basically my point. Dang it, bear! Now, can't remember what I was talking about before. You know what? This is half of your fault, viewers. I blame you. Letting me get distracted. You know I'm easily distractible. Alright, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. Nailed it. Which means these have to come up there. This goes there. Alright, you got this. Oh yeah, those guys are super annoying. Putting in those stairs sucks. Because then you have to come in and knock that out. And look where we are now. Lame. Dang. I keep doing this. We were definitely talking about a thing. And now that thing eludes me. Oh, nope. I remember now. We were talking about having choice in the maps. And a part of that is Sky Temple is small. And I think as a way to not only include choice within the temples themselves, but to make some of the temples, not a lot, 1 or 2, 1 for sure, optional. And the one that is definitely optional off the top of my head, fixing my music real quick, is Sky Temple. Because of its size. That'll be a temple that's like, come on man, you didn't give us a full temple. I thought you promised us 4 puzzle rooms, 5 keys, a boss key, a mini boss, and the boss itself. And then I have to be like, yeah, but did you see the size of the floating islands? You fit all that stuff in. Like, so to avoid that particular issue, we'll just make some of the temples optional. Like, they're there to do. They contain items if you want them, but you would have to do the temple, though it's not required. And then on top of that, we can, like, maybe we do a thing where there's some cool stuff and you need that item to get it. So in a sense, you need to do Sky Temple if you want that other stuff. But on the flip side, also like we don't want to, because if we do that, we're basically saying, okay, now you have to do that temple when it's supposed to be optional. And so we don't want to do that. I think I've messed up here by doing all of these, because now these are going to feel extra hard to get into. I think we're just going to pop them all in just like that. And then we'll break them out and maybe we'll get them back. And not be too upset if we don't get them back. But if we make it like that, then it'd be things like, because on the flip side, it's like, why even bother if I know what the rewards are? And that's a part of like why I'm hesitant on spoilers. But let's say for example, you get the item, and then everything that item would give you access to would be lesser items. They're going to be food. They're going to be money, rupees, right? But they're never going to be something amazing, right? I can't even think of what something amazing would be, but the Hall of the Hero, that might get ya. That might be the one thing where it's like, oh, I have to do this whole temple to get that one item, to solve this one room, so I can get that one piece of armor that's going to make me just strong enough to not die. Like, I would like to avoid something like that, but that could easily end up being the case. Alright, that feels good. Let's put the block on each of them. And then we'll knock out those placeholder blocks. It's always the worst part about doing this particular design. It's that upside down stair. It's never easy to get in. Alright, now we'll just knock these guys out and maybe we'll get them back, maybe we won't. Probably we won't. But that's, now that we're on to the Hall of the Hero, let's talk about that just a little bit. So that is a temple, for lack of a better word, that contains a bunch of different puzzles, like a temple would, but each of those puzzles requires an item that you do not get from that temple. You get them from the other temples. So it's a long-term temple that you can't fully beat until you've gotten at least the item from each of the other temples. So in theory, technically you don't even have to fully beat all of the temples, provided that you'd beat 8 out of 9, and in that 9th one you get the item and you don't technically finish the temple just yet. That would be an example of how you could technically not beat all of the temples and still get the item. Or all of the items from the Hall of the Hero. But I intend for the Hall of the Hero to be something along the lines of like the tomb of the hero. Zelda I've talked about this before, vaguely. But Zelda is this game where every Link is a reincarnation of a previous Link, with the exception of Skyward Sword being chronologically the first game in the series. That technically is the original Link, and he has no predecessor, technically, until they change it. But going from there, we know that because there's this reincarnation cycle, and we know that the legend of the hero is very much a legend of the land, we could build on that and have, I call it the Hall of the Hero, but in reality it'd be the Tomb of the Hero, and it would be where each of the links has been laid to rest. And we probably wouldn't show that off in the build whatsoever, because it's kind of irrelevant for the purpose of that particular build. But let's see, this one's gonna be the cap over there, and then this side will continue. So we need to decide how big this side's gonna be. Well, this feels too small, so probably this one, right? We'll just mark it off like that. But because it's the Hall of the Hero, where do you think all the items probably went that the hero was wearing, right? There's a little disconnect there. Obviously, if the hero beat a bunch of temples, they probably also were buried with all of those temple items that he carries. Or at least they're in the tomb somewhere with him. But we're going to use it as a... these are probably supposed to be mossy. Yeah, those are supposed to be mossy. Dang it. We're going to use it as a... his gear. What he was physically wearing. His hat. His sword, possibly. I'm not sure about the sword because there's... gameplay wise, players are going to need a way to defend themselves in this map, probably before they get there, so we'll see about the sword. That'll probably be in the Temple of Time, honestly. But his shield, his tunics, plural, his boots, his pants, you know, all those things will probably be inside the Hall of the Hero. And those are some of the items that we have crafted. Those are custom-made items. Again, trying to be light on spoilers for those who don't really want them, so I'll be kind of vaguish, but still to the point. I'll use examples instead of actual what they are, okay? Just so you guys know what I'm talking about. But let's say on the helmet that you wear. When you finally get the helmet, you've done the Forest Temple and you've taken the item back and you go to solve it. Let's say, for argument's sake, that thing that you get because of that item. We're gonna have to bring this design all the way around and then do the next layer on top. That item you get because of the temple item will be the hat. And you're like, okay, cool, I got the hat. What's the hat do? Well, the hat has like boosted stats, higher than what you can get from generic Minecraft items. Like, you can't get those enchants from normal Minecraft play. And perhaps the hat, and I'm just gonna pull a random thought out of my head that we could do, right? Let's say the hat gives you flying, and the next temple you go to has a spot that coincidentally requires that you need to fly. Maybe not needs you to, but maybe having that item sure makes that task a lot easier. Like, that's kind of along the lines I'm thinking. Like, we want to slowly start giving you, the hero, and I'm pointing at myself off camera, we slowly want to start giving you, the hero, the gear that the hero wears. And I didn't mean to do that. I need to think about how to do those up there. I also need to punch out these torches because this bad boy wraps around just like that. Aha! Yay! I'm so smart. SMRT. There we go. But yes, I slowly want to start, like, the further you get into it, the more I want you to become the hero. And the way we represent that in this particular adventure map is by literally putting the clothes on you. I'm not going to make this jump. I did it! I'm the best. And I think that sounds like a really cool idea. And of course, all of the more heroes gear you get, the the stronger you'll be, because it provides you with certain buffs and benefits. And that is the purpose of the Hall of the Hero. As you complete temples, it's like doing trials and showing that you're worthy of wearing the items that the heroes. It's like the heroes of heroes past are testing you, and when you get an item, represents you've completed a temple, but they want to test you one step further by giving you another puzzle to see if it's just a fluke that you have that item, or if you really know how to wield that item. Because it's not like they're going to be able to go to the temple and verify that you have indeed beaten the temple, right? Dang it, that's the one I don't make? Okay. Oh no. There's no jump here, is there? It kind of is. Dang, 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 dang. Oh, there's no jump on that one, though. There we go. Aha! So, I know, a little pause there. With that in mind, that would mean that you're definitely going to get all the gear from it. That gear is going to give you some kind of buffs. Those buffs are going to help you with later in other temples, because they're going to help you with, your resistance to like damage or whatever, like, because they got pushed buffs. But we spent some considerable time in a test world, putting ourselves through various experiments. The armor has pushed stats, but it's also on leather armor. And so we wanted it to be leather armor because we wanted to be able to dye them and put you in the same colors that Link wears. So green tunic, green hat, white pants, brown boots, right? We wanted the ability to dye them. And if it ever came up and we wanted to give you like a fire tunic or whatever, like, we could dye it red. And that's why we chose leather, is so we could have the freedom. So if we wanted to add things or change things about the armor, we could also change the color to represent them being a different item, besides just their name and ability. You could just open it up and be like, nope, there's my red one, put it on my chest, Oh, there's my green one, let's put the green one on, it does a different thing, right? Dang it. So that's why it's in leather, and we did a lot of testing. And there's a reason why the stats are pushed. We wanted the gear to give you a slight buff higher than normal Minecraft fully enchanted diamond protection, right? So if you're wearing 4 pieces of diamond armor that each have protection 4 on them, this leather armor is pretty much the same, but slightly stronger. Its durability's less. All of the hero armor is indestructible. It can't be broken. You can't lose durability. They also can't be enchanted any further than they already are, because we've got them set to be, if you put them in an anvil to put more enchantments on them, all of the pieces are automatically set to just be too expensive. You cannot enchant them further than what they already are, so they can't be further enhanced. But they do give you additional buffs. So in addition to being slightly more powerful than diamond armor protection wise, diamond armor can also give you things like respiration and aqua affinity and feather falling and frostwalker, and there's a huge list of things that you can get on normal Minecraft armor that is not on the hero's armor. So to help make up for that, the hero's armor also offers you unique benefits or buffs that you don't get from anywhere else. And of course I didn't grab the log of the stack of logs. I'm so smart. So I'm going to look at my list real briefly. And I'm going to decide what I think is the least spoilery but still kind of exciting to hear about, and tell you guys what that is. And I won't tell you what armor it's on. So pull it up real quick, and let's see. Okay, yeah, that's nice. So again, I'm not going to tell you what piece of armor it's on, but one of the pieces of armor grants you an ability that you don't get from anywhere else. That ability, well, not that you don't get from anywhere else, but that you do not get from armor. That ability is Strength 1. You will get a Strength 1 buff for wearing this particular piece of armor, which again, I'm not going to tell you what it is. But just know, like, those are the sorts of things, and they're meant to be balanced with, like, the Master Sword's pretty great, right? It's the Master Sword, but the Master Sword doesn't have everything that you might want out of a diamond sword. And to help make up for that, this piece of armor, giving you Strength 1, now that Master Sword is definitely stronger by a good chunk. Like, if I'm... like, it's already strong, not gonna lie. It's a strong piece of gear. But, like, because of this armor that you're wearing, it actually... it's supposed to... it's the hero armor. It enhances your ability to be the hero. You now hit harder because you're slowly becoming the hero. And that's what that Strength 1 is supposed to represent. Like, you've completed this temple, you've done this task, you've gone through the trial, you've proven your worth, and part of that kind of reward system is that, you know, your skill with the sword has increased. Because you're naturally stronger, you're going to hit harder. It's like your technique has just gotten better, and not so much... it's not meant to be like, oh, I'm stronger, of course I'm going to hit harder now. Like, it's supposed to be a physical manifestation of the idea that because you're completing these temples, you are becoming more and more like the hero of time himself. You are becoming the hero, and your actual skill with your tools is improving. And that's why that kind of buff is on the armor. Again, not to just simply make you stronger for the sake of making you stronger, but to show a progression in your character's growth in this game within a game, right? That's what that's supposed to represent. All the armor does unique things. There's a lot of different armors. You'll find throughout playing this map, you'll be swapping out pieces of armor regularly to do certain things and complete certain tasks, and you know, it's kind of the point of it. That, of course, I'm out of cobble. Wow, I'm almost out of a lot of materials. I should have really stocked up while I was over there. Dang it! This is a typical me building something experience. But that's really getting to the heart of it. That this is a game within a game, and there's certain things I would like to happen and not happen, and that's where I find I'm having the most fun with this, is trying to balance this game within a game. So nothing feels too broken outside of the game, but nothing feels too underwhelming inside of the game. Like, ideally, I would want something along the lines of, like, you as the player have beaten this whole map, and when you leave and come back to your normal survival world, you get to take the items with you and have those items, like, truly want to compete for your slots. Like, when I get back, like, do I really want to carry this axe around? Maybe I got an axe throughout the game somewhere, this map, and it has Smite 6 on it, but otherwise they're identical, maybe. Or maybe, yeah, there wouldn't be unbreaking or mending on the other axe because they are indestructible, so those two things are completely useless. But maybe it's like Smite 6, Efficiency 4. Like, you win some, you lose some. So, like, I want them to compete for your attention. And that is also just an example. There are no there are no axes in the map as far as I can remember off the top of my head. Pretty certain there's no axes. Take one of those with me, just in case. And we loop back around. Now we're coming up on the point where we're going to have to start making a decision here on how to separate, there we go, these two sections. We know we need brick. The question is how we're going to transform this into it. Did we just run brick straight across? I think we do. Nope, that's better just died. I just watched him die. And then we'll just continue these like normal. Just like that. Slightly changing the topic on you guys a little bit. Some of you may be aware, or not, that my live stream uploading to YouTube / my actual literal live streaming has slowed down a bit. I haven't been live streaming so frequently, and a big part of that is because Tuesday, when I would normally be doing a live stream, has been a day where I'm working on Skyward Sword to get that game beat so I can start the Skyward Sword series here. And so because it's actually literally taking up my time, I haven't been able to get on here and do Tuesday's live streams. There is another reason why I haven't been doing that though. If you were watching this live right now instead of on YouTube, you would see that you are the only person watching. That is to say that I get next to no views while live streaming. And it's not, for me, it's not really about the views, but I always did picture the live streaming being a solid source for me to possibly talk to people real time as I'm building and get some feedback on things, and it just has not been that kind of experience for me. And as a result, like, I just want to do it less and less, because it's like, who cares if I'm live streaming if you're just gonna watch it on YouTube later, because you know it's YouTube and you can watch it at your own convenience. And I don't want to stop live streaming, but I'm definitely slowing it down just because it's right now it's not like it's working on gaining traction, it's just that it has no traction. There is no traction for this particular platform with my channel at this moment. Even my channel itself has slowed, like, the commenting has improved, the likes have improved, but the literal views have gone down. And I forgot cobblestone again. Okay. I've said this in the past. I'm not too worried about having a bunch of views or not having a bunch of views, you know. I do this because it's fun, but I'm also a practical person, and if I'm doing a thing because I'm trying to engage with the audience and there is no audience, and it takes a lot of time, like these live streams take a ridiculous amount of time. Oh man, dang it! And they take a lot of time. Not only are they 2 hours long, but the upload and render time for them is also enormous because the file sizes are so large. And the upload time is ridiculous as well. Oh, come on, live stream, catch up. My connection's a little poor. It's been super windy around here lately. Hopefully I'm still streaming. It's showing a very slow stream connection. But it's definitely still recording, so I'll keep talking. Again, like, the Twitch is my way to hopefully communicate with an audience regularly in real time about things that are going on inside, like for these projects. And if I'm not having that communication with people, like its purpose, the reason for doing it, then I find it hard to make myself do it, you know? Like, oh, here's the reason we do this. Also, incidentally, there's no reason because nobody's... The reason we're doing it isn't yielding anybody to make that reason legitimate. Does that make sense? Like, I do it for you guys, but there are no you guys. So, that's why the live streams are slowing down. It's a part of it. The other part I already mentioned with Skyward Sword. There is a smaller smaller in the when you compare it next to my Minecraft videos. Smaller because it's not gonna be a YouTube thing. So it's, you know, comparing apples to oranges. But there is an additional reason why we're not going to be doing Tuesdays anymore. And that's, you know, very long-winded. I'm very good at long-windedness. But in case it wasn't clear, Tuesdays are pretty much dropped off until, at least until there is a significant audience that, you know, really wants that. Otherwise, I just sit here and try to talk and explain to anybody who might watch this later as a typical recording. Like, I could have easily done an episode for this, and instead of having 10 minutes left of this stream like we do right now and not being done with this thing, I could have turned it into an episode and completed this build. And technically that would take more time, because time to do the build, but it wouldn't be constant. I wouldn't be fumbling over my words nearly as much. And if I don't have an active audience, which is, again, the reason for doing this on Twitch, then my time's probably better spent doing actual episodes. And again, that could easily change with a growing audience, you know, an audience that is asking for more live streams. But until then, like, it's not a thing people are asking for or watching or demanding. And, you know, it's fine. It is what it is. I am not upset by it. I'm just trying to explain why perhaps these live streams are stopping. Again, just the Tuesday one. I want to be clear about that. Dang it, Bo. Yeah, the live streams aren't just like stopping. They're just the Tuesdays dropping off. I'd rather use that for episode making time or, you know, what have you, than talking to a live audience who isn't live or there. There we go. Yeah, I try not to be a crazy bear. You know, somebody talking to themselves, but that is what I'm doing, isn't it? I'm just talking to myself now. You guys are making me a crazy bear. Oh well, these streams are long. Who knows if anyone's even gotten to this point yet. Or ever will. I just like building and making puzzles for people to play and experience. My whole spiel really is to... or shtick, that's it. My whole shtick is to build these things and share them with people and show the process behind doing these. And that is really the crux of it. That is the entirety of why we are doing this on YouTube instead of doing it completely off camera and then later just advertising it and uploading it as a download. Definitely wanted for people who want to play the map and are curious how somebody goes about building this map, because I don't know if you know this, but tutorials for map making aren't really a thing because maps are usually big, and if they're not, then you've probably only seen the map because some quote-unquote big YouTuber, big Minecrafter, plays them so they can scream into the mic and have a bunch of children watching going, "Oh, I love this guy because he screams at us." Boom, there we go. Dang, stream's coming to a close. Despite my spiel just now, I still don't like it when my streams come to a close, especially when I haven't finished the build yet. I mean, we got kind of a part. We've got a defined area where the first roof is going to start. We're just going to lay the bricks across around like that, and then bring it up, and then this one will be the next bit up. Let's bring this up 2, and then we'll do like a outer castle thing like that. Again, I'll probably end up just doing the rest of this off camera because obviously we're running out of time rapidly. Oh, poopy. We still have those parts. Those are so much easier to do in creative mode that it didn't even cross my mind when I'm like, yeah, those look really cool, let's do that. That'd be like, oh, these are not fun to do. These upside down stairs. But we're getting there. Slowly coming together. The other thing I really like about live streams, despite my complaining, is that between episodes where the live streams happen, a lot of progress happens. And it's not just a simple case of me having to explain, you know, I just wanted to build and just got carried away, because that's typically what happens. Usually I'll start building and I'll get really carried away, and that's what's going to happen between this live stream and the next episode. Is I'm going to finish this facade for this area, but it's more easily explained when I can tell, you know, viewers, hey, if you wanted to see the process of this being built, it's on the second channel during the live stream. Like, you don't have to miss out. You can still go catch it. But that's why I like the live streams, essentially. Just because it's a placeholder for me to do lots of big progress that doesn't necessarily have to happen in the episodes. And Yeah, it's straightforward. It's relaxing. That's, for all the reasons why I intentionally meant to be doing live streams, the thing I like the most, I think, and we'll get into this, we'll leave the live stream on a positive note. The thing I like the most about live streaming is that it feels very therapeutic. I get to come in here, I get to have the opportunity, that's worded carefully, you have the opportunity to speak with fans in real time. I'll leave that at that. But I also get to speak in much greater detail about things that are, either going on in the world of Resilient, specifically what's going on with my adventure map, or what I'm working on outside of it to bring future projects to the channel, such as the building Skyward Sword. And I get to vent a little bit, and I know there was the week that Mrs. Tooth's family was in town, I didn't do any live streams, and then I forgot a Tuesday. I just straight up forgot a Tuesday, and then decided not to do the following Sunday to balance that out. And I remember being a little cranky, and I think it's because I had started to get into this loop of being able to vent a little bit with the live streaming about my projects and gush a little bit on them, and just kind of adore the projects that we're working on. And I hadn't gotten that for a while, and I think that's a part of why I was getting a little cranky. But it's funny that how it worked out like that. And yeah, so that's a big positive. That's why we're not stopping live streaming. So if anybody's watching these, and who knows, maybe it's like in a year from now, maybe it's 10 years from now, and all of a sudden I have a following, and they're like, oh man, we really like those live streams, and I'm watching old videos right now. Like, don't stop that. I'm glad you didn't stop doing videos. Like, that's something I try to keep in mind too. The what if scenarios. I keep the this is real life scenario in my head. This is what I should actually expect. And I also have the, what happens if this happens in the future kind of scenarios. Try to keep those in my head too. But guys, that is coming up right on the end of the, come on. There it is. That's coming up on the end of the stream. We're, according to my time, 1 minute away from noon. And you can see everything we've worked on. Hopefully this kind of gives you an idea for how long it actually takes to build these things. The rest of it took a little longer because I was following a specific design that I'd already invented. And so that took a little longer, referencing images and building these as best I could to that image. But these back bits, these are just off the top of my head, and they're even still kind of loosely based on the rest of it. Ooh, there we go. Nope, that's the view I wanted. There we go. So I hope you guys got a good feel for how much time goes into building these actual builds, and it's obvious these are not done. The windows aren't in, the roofs aren't in, this bit I'm standing on still has some more height to it. Like, there's a bunch of fun stuff to it that still needs to be done. It takes some time. But that's going to be it for today's live stream, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and for my YouTube people, leave a like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, share with your friends, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next one.